If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Welcome to Deep Dive, where we dive deep into geocaching topics. Each episode features in-depth discussions and aims to provide a deeper understanding and appreciation of geocaching and to inspire listeners to explore new aspects of our great sport. And along with me tonight is, of course, the Memphis Mafia man himself.
Still here or back or whatever. I don't know. It feels like I'm traveling a lot right now.
It does. Your audio somehow kicked it.
Uh-oh.
It went wacko. See if you can work on that. Yeah, barely.
Uh-oh.
I'll let you work on that. While you're doing that, tonight's giveaway later on tonight will be hashtag placement. So let me there you go. Good job. Hashtag placement is our hashtag for the night. And we're going to talk about, I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. So let me get Jesse back. Here he comes.
Oh, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Okay. Who knows?
Who knows, right? So I just let people know it's hashtag placement tonight for the giveaway. And we'll talk about what I've got to give a little later. I also put the list together so I can so you and I can keep track of who's won. You can win a couple times. We'll let you win a couple. But anyway, and then we'll, I don't know, end of the year, I guess we'll reset it and let everybody back in kind of thing. Place pizza in mouth. That's funny. Pizza Ninja, you crazy man. Speaking of crazy man, not doing news, but I will mention that we have been working hard on things for Cache Fest. I know not everybody's going to get to go this year. Hopefully, folks can try to make it next year. We're looking forward to announcing our new location for Cache Fest. We'll be announcing that literally in a couple of weeks because we're going to be at Cache Fest, and we're going to have the announcement during Cache Fest, and we'll obviously word will get out. One thing we're also going to do a couple times that week is we're going to try to go live and give everybody a little update on what's going on, just to kind of give people a little flavor for Memphis and the different events that are going on. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. So, all right.
And then just Cache Fest North Korea next year. Is that what we're still talking about?
No, let's keep that into.
Oh, that's a secret for now. Okay.
Yeah, keep that into the hat for now because we don't really want to talk about that. No,
yeah, we're still dealing with leadership, trying to work out some details, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah, Cache Fest Alaska. Let's do it.
Hey, you joke about that, but I ain't joking.
I know. Cache Fest
I'm
Alaska.
ready to do it.
Happy Hodag, anything's possible. I mean, but there's a lot of events up that way, so I wouldn't hold my breath on Wisconsin because There's a lot of stuff up there. This would be more likely, but I can't say. Bahamas, Key
Those are
West.
possible places, not for next year, but those are possible places.
Those are possibles.
I don't know
like
which one would be more expensive.
It would be.
Both of them. I don't know which one would be the most expensive one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not cheap to go all the way down to Key West. My guess is.
No.
Yeah, you got to get. You still have to get that county, right?
No, I've got it already, but
you got it, okay.
I haven't been out to Key West in the very tip. I need to go out there.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I will get there. I'm working my way through the counties, though. I have that one, but I'm working my way through. I don't have that many left.
Good man.
Yeah, I am.
I like this idea.
500 counties now total. So,
dang, 500. Okay, cool. I need
You're
to
not far behind me, though. I know.
Yeah, I need to go look for. Let's go look at mine. Cache Fest Paris. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Ooh, that would be.
I'm not very far from there. I assume she's talking about Paris, Texas. I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking Paris, Tennessee, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Paris, Tennessee. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I think they copied it over in Europe somewhere. There's some Paris over there too, though.
Yeah, they stole the name.
Cache Fest Bermuda Triangle. That seems about like something cachers would do, right? But
something we would do.
Let's get back on track. We're going to be off crazy. We're off crazy already.
It'll be all the rage in Paris. Okay, yeah. Paris, Texas, or Paris. See, Jen was right on it.
Yeah, I've been to Paris, Tennessee. I don't know if I've been to Paris, Texas.
Oh, Paris, Texas, and we have an Eiffel Tower in Paris, Texas.
Wow,
it's got a cowboy hat on the top of it.
Nice.
So there you go.
I have seen the Eiffel Tower in France and in Vegas, but not the one in Texas. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of good caches in Paris, Texas.
Paris, Kentucky, Paris, Maine.
Yep, Paris, Maine, Paris, Kentucky. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but I bet they don't have an Eiffel Tower with a big old cowboy hat on the top of it.
Probably not.
Whatever. Yeah, we could do Cache Fest Buc-ee's. I'm wearing my Buc-ee shirt. So, all right, let's get into it.
Cache Fest brought to you by Buc-ee's. That sounds like a good promotion right there.
Exactly.
Like you need to talk to them. Get that to happen.
Yeah. So here's the scenario that we're going to talk about tonight. So you're going around town, and it dawns on you that this certain location would be perfect, or you finally got permission to do something at that particular location, whatever the circumstances are. You've got a spot. However you got the spot, it's for another show.
Yeah.
But you've got a spot. Now what do you do?
Well, it just so happens traditionally I know what you do and what I do. So I looked up the stats before we started. And so according to your history, 74% of the time you're going to put a traditional cache there.
Yeah, that's probably not good of me.
Your multi-cache is 6% of the time.
Yep.
And your mystery cache is 6% of the time. The rest of them are pretty much around 1%.
Yeah.
So you definitely are skewed. Everybody is, though.
I'm skewed.
For
not
me,
you're not skewed.
I'm not. Well, I'm still skewed, just skewed differently. My number one, so we're taking out events because we're talking about a cache placement. Number one for me is Where I Goes. So Where I Go is the number one that I would most likely place based on history. Right behind that would be Earth Cache. Well, it's a container, so that wouldn't be. Well, I guess there's a permission there, so it could be. But and then Mystery Cache goes after that for me. And then Lab Cache. Well, Lab Cache is different. And then it goes down to traditional multi-cache. And virtual doesn't count. Letterbox is after that one. So it's way down for traditionals for me. Traditional is by far your first one. So yours kind of tracks along with the world. Out of the whole world, 82% of all the caches out there are traditional.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So multis, what do you think multis are? What percentage? And these are really rough numbers, right?
Oh, man.
About a second, we know.
What was the percentage of traditionals again?
Traditional is 82%.
82%. Holy cow. Holy moly. Multi-caches, I would think it'd be more than some. I'll say 10%.
3%.
3%.
3% of all the caches out there are multi-caches.
Wow.
And the next one they had a stat for was unknown caches. So this includes mystery challenge, all the. What do you think the percentage on that one is?
That would be more like maybe 5%.
12.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's actually 12%.
Because there's so much falls in that, I guess.
And if you're adding that up at home, if you're following along at home, that only leaves 3% for all other cache types.
Where I goes, everything else.
Where it goes, virtuals.
I'm surprised virtuals are that low.
Webcams is like 0.0000000 for a while, 1% or something. So
yeah,
it's traditional is the name of the game,
2.
right? Traditional geocache is the name of the game.
It is.
So I think the first. Now my question would be, why? So I can ask you that question because traditional seems to be one of my last thoughts. It seems to be your first thought. Why do you think you go with those mainly? Because I bet that mirrors similarly your finds. I bet traditional is by far your biggest.
Yeah,
most people it is, right? But
I'll go look while you're doing that too. But yeah, I would tell you my first thought on why is because my area is heavily skewed toward either new cachers or cachers who are traditional cachers in the sense that they are not going to go out of their way for a puzzle. I mean, I put out a traditional cache and I will get, fairly decent hits. I'll get in this area. It's, people have different. Yeah. Look at that. Strek 2's 75%.
Now, Strek 2 is that we're talking about hides, not finds, right? I would be shocked if anybody has 75%
finds. Yeah, that's his hides.
I'm sure he's talking about hides. I would be quite impressed. Even so 75% of your hides being puzzles, that's quite good.
That is good. See, for me, if I did 70% of puzzles, they're going to sit there and rot because people just aren't. In fact, I hit a puzzle recently, and it's called "Don't Skip This Puzzle Cache." I think it's the name of it. Let me see.
That's funny.
And it is dirt simple. It's almost it's not like your Where I Go. It's like the what would you call it? The world's easiest Where I Go.
The easiest Where I Go. I have the easiest Where I Go in Colorado, and I think the easiest Where I Go in Florida now.
Yeah. Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea says we're into putting out different icons this year. Multi-classic, letterbox, Where I Go, puzzle, a lot of fun. I would say that's pretty much sums up what I was going to say. And of course, without beating the same drum again, that's what I always say when you're putting out a cache. A lot of people just default to traditional, and my question generally is why. Like, I don't think traditional holds any special place above all the other caches.
Sure.
Other than people tend to find traditionals more.
Yeah.
Puzzles scare people away. Letterboxes are kind of rare, but they're not. They do add a level of difficulty.
Yeah.
Multis have their own thing. For me, and kind of we're talking about this now, but for me, I hit a couple traditionals early on, but since then, I haven't really seen a reason to hide just a traditional cache other than there's a couple of reasons why I did it in certain cases, but those are very weird exceptions and whatever. I haven't really found a lot of reason to hide a traditional cache after I've already hidden a couple. There's always some other element I want to add to it, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's just my opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion.
What
cache type? You're saying though is people won't find other ones in your area.
Yeah, I'm trying to coax more, and I need to do more. I need to do more events where I do Puzzle 101 just to get people to sort of start to do more puzzles.
Mhm.
I did hide a letterbox fairly recently that I'm pretty proud of. It's a crazy hide, and I think that it's gotten it's got some good favorite points. Um, and then Mother Hide we'll talk about tonight. Oh, five. That's what I was going to ask you about, Jesse. What cache type are you using for your challenge caches?
What do you mean? It's a puzzle.
So
It's a unknown. You can only do it under unknown, but
you can only do it. No. Okay.
yeah. For the challenges, you can only do it under unknown.
What about the pre moratorium? Could you do it as a traditional, but call it a challenge?
No, not in recent times. Not in any time that I've been in the game. It's always had to be an unknown cache type.
Post moratorium, right? So
No,
are there
pre-moratorium. So
even pre
the
moratorium?
whole time that I've been in the game, challenges. Now, early on when there was no rules and it was the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Maybe
could have done
when
one.
before people started coming out with challenges, ever since challenges have been out, they've been in unknown categories.
All unknowns. Okay.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really. When people say I'm hiding puzzle caches, we always talked about is how are they saying they're true puzzles or are they just the unknown?
Well, unknown
attribute.
is that category, right? And I think
it's the
you hit on
catch-all.
something that's pretty important. Unknown is the category. That includes puzzles. That includes, remember they did those AR caches for a little while?
Yeah, I've got one still out there.
They did, that includes challenges and includes anything else.
Yep.
Anything else that would fit into that category. But I think the problem is a lot of times people are scared of puzzles. They're afraid they get puzzles. Christy,
Yep.
If we see one, she's just like, I don't even want to look at it. She just skips that icon altogether. Yep. Now, for me, whether I'm in a puzzle mood or not, I'm still going to check for a challenge anytime, I'm looking for a cache.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But to me, that's separate than puzzles. So to me, it's all under the same category, on the same icon, but
it is.
I can see how it would scare some people away sometimes because a lot of people just don't do puzzles. They're scared of them.
Yeah.
I would say the same with multis, though, too.
Multis is different in the fact that I think I need to do a couple, because you don't have to do, pardon me, when you do a multi-cache, it doesn't have to be like some sort of crazy 7-stage wacko kind of, all day kind of thing.
It does not. It can be very short in the same parking lot. It can be right around the corner.
2-stage.
The problem with multi-caches is they're not maintained a lot of times. So I don't hunt, and it is, you can see it by my stats or finds. Yeah. I don't hunt them as often because you get to like stage 3 and stage 3 is missing. And now you've wasted an hour and a half. So I can see why people skip those too. Even though I would encourage people to hide caches of every type, I'm doing that with the assumption that I'm also saying and maintain your cache, right? Don't just
absolutely
leave it out. Don't be a part of the problem, be a part of the solution, right? So
exactly.
So of our first question, before we get too far off, our first question, you got to call some place. My first question would be for anybody, if I'm thinking through this, what kind of cache do I want to hide? Now, traditionally, you've hidden traditionals, and I've hidden other cache types. But I do that knowing that, depending on what cache type it is, I may not get as many hits as I would if I just hit it as a traditional. So there's a balance to that every time. But that's the more elaborate you get. Like a gadget cache gets a lot of hits. Sure. But if it's too hard, somebody's probably going to break into it. So you got to balance every time with it,
Yeah.
Multis, some people don't hunt multis. Letterbox, you got to have a stamp in there. Now, the stamp can be super cheap if you want it to be, right?
Yeah, it can be pretty.
It doesn't have to be personalized. You can just buy a dollar store stamp, throw it in there. Technically, that's a letterbox, right? Hopefully the people that listen to this go more elaborate than that, and they're putting better quality out. But I would say number one, figure out what cache type. How to figure out the cache type, in my opinion, is one, based on your area. What do you miss? What do you need?
Yep.
Two, based on your own stats. What are you missing? What do you need? If you've never hidden a letterbox, why? I would say do it.
Yeah.
We live by numbers and stats and everything else in this game. Fill up that right side of your board like we talked about before. All your hides, you want one of each one of those on there at least. If you don't like it, move on after that. But you want to fill those lines in.
Yeah.
So I would say look what the area needs. Look what you might need for your stats. Or just something you want to experiment with, right? You may have a favorite cache type and it's not many in the area. So
yeah, and that's something that taking sort of my situation out of the mix. If you live in a location where you really truly feel like anything that's hidden will get an equal number of finds, then yeah, I think that there's something that I think for me, even though I am kind of skewed a certain way, when I find a spot that I want to put a cache at, I think of cache type, I think first. Then I will then sort of reverse engineer it to what I think the container will fit best.
Yes. So that's a different step than Deadliest Cacher said. They think of the theme of their whole thing to decide what they're going to do for cache type. So you come up with cache type, and then your next step is
container.
So
then I'll go
to a consideration for container, right? Let's think about the one you said. There's one in particular that you're going to hide or rehide, right? That you have a permission for already.
Yeah.
So what's that area like? So we have an idea of what the setting is for that area.
Sure. So there's one of them that I have. I've got a couple I'm thinking of, but one of them that I've done recently. It's in this cemetery, and not everybody can do cemeteries. We understand. Check your local rules. By the way, you need to check that. You can go to, there's a wiki page for every state. I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but you can go look, and we can put the link in the show notes, but you can go look for the wiki page for your state or province or whatever you live in that will help you in determining. So for Texas, obviously, as long as you have permission, and I have permission to put caches in this particular cemetery, those locations are great for Texas. I think you mentioned something about Georgia will only allow virtuals in theirs, and
and that may have been the part of Georgia we were in, which was the North Third.
Could be, yeah.
And I've heard many places don't allow any physical caches inside cemeteries.
Right. Ours is we're good to go in ours.
I'm a fan of not having physical caches inside cemeteries, but I like the virtual caches more because you're not going to people shouldn't touch anything.
But
each place has its own rules, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah, the interesting thing is the ones that I do have they're in the cemeteries, but they're not near anybody. So they're large enough places that like the one I was telling you about, that I found this location. It's sort of along the side. It's inside the cemetery, but it's along sort of this wall. Well, it's along a fence, but then there's a wall. There's a big, bas relief kind of wall. And there's it's like a little sitting area deal. So there's no gravestones there.
Yeah.
And then behind it, you can walk behind it. There's not really anything back there except for the fence and the wall. So I thought this will be a perfect spot because one of two things. One is I always try to think about what would it be like if I'm a cacher searching for the cache at this location.
Right.
In my case, for this
particular, What are you considering when you're talking about that?
Considering a couple things. One is, and this is an indictment across the board, but geocachers are elephants. Always remember that. Always remember geocachers are elephants, and they tend to become in herds.
Mm-hmm.
A herd of elephants. So
and only go in straight lines.
They go in straight lines. Well, not only that, but they stomp around in like big elephants, and so
cutting right to whatever they want, because that's the way the compass points, right?
Yeah, and so that plus where they're standing, don't put caches, for the most part. Don't put a cache in landscaping. Don't put a cache in those kind of sensitive area. Don't put caches on power poles, because people are going to come along. I'm sorry. Oh, we had a little hiccup.
Oh, yeah. We lost our connection here for a second. I don't know if you can hear me at all. I think he'll come back in here in just a second. I don't know if he disappeared or I disappeared, but we'll find out here in a minute.
I'm back.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you disappeared or I disappeared. Everything kind of locked up there for a second.
Yeah, definitely. I can. If it gets bad again, I'll go grab my cable. I just don't have my cable. I'm going across the Wi-Fi to my. So. Yeah.
Step on egg without breaking it due to the flexibility of their feet.
Well, true, but these are not dexterous elephants. These are elephants that just come in and destroy everything. So,
all right. So what was the second considered? First consideration, they're elephants.
Second one is the time that it will take to complete the task of finding a geocache.
Okay.
So in this particular case, this location has a great opportunity for a long period of time in searching, because you're really out of the way. In fact, you got a wall in front of you, so people can there is no issue
out there at the cache.
Exactly, which led me to putting a creative cache there that you have got to. It's a puzzle cache, field puzzle.
Yeah.
So, and people have stood there for a while trying to figure out the puzzle, but they have time for that. It's not like a traditional, bison tube in a tree. All those can be tricky too. But
so let's talk about size. What size are you thinking about going with?
So in that particular case, I did a birdhouse.
So what size did you consider that?
Oh, that's just would be considered maybe. I did a smaller one, so it's really more of a small. It's not a really. I mean, you can make birdhouse caches of any size, but this one happens to be smaller. So I didn't really think about the size of the container at that point. For me, wasn't as big of a deal because it was placed in a location where it didn't have to be giant. It could be smaller. I mean, it was smaller because in that particular case, it was one that I had worked on, and it was one that I felt like it was in this particular location, size didn't become an issue because I already had a creative cache that I wanted to put out, and this one fit the bill.
Okay, so you actually already had a container before this. Okay,
I had a.
Let's scrap that for just a second, and let's say that
go to
you
a
did
different one.
Now you've got the same location because we're going through the process, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. You're going through the process. You've decided you're going to do what cache type?
I did traditional.
Well, remember, we're doing a theoretical one. This is you're placing it tomorrow. That
Okay,
one's wiped out. You're placing it tomorrow at this location that you picked out.
I would.
Could you consider doing other type based on the area that you have for that one? You've got plenty of time for somebody to be there. What else could you consider that you think would be popular enough that would be worth doing, not a traditional?
I think that I have started to put out more puzzles, like puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one could have lent itself to being a letterbox
because
of the fact that more than likely the container isn't going anywhere. Therefore, if a container's not going anywhere, typically then the stamp is probably going to stick around as well.
Okay. And based on your history.
Yep.
Letterboxes, you've hidden 2 letterboxes.
I've only done 2.
Okay.
I need to do more.
That's okay.
I want to do more, but I've done a couple.
And you've done 3 Earth Cache and 3 Where I Go. So this would kind of catch you up. If you're going to do this would catch you up. So you're now even at your stats.
True.
So letterbox, would you still, if you didn't have that container, would you still put some kind of creative container there with the letterbox?
Yeah. I mean, this one, this particular location came up recently. And so I think it really lent itself to this type. In my mind, it lent itself to being a creative cache because of the location. It really
got time to spend with it.
It really pushed me to that. Yeah.
Okay. I would agree with that. I'm 100% on board with you. So I'm just we're dissecting the thought process. I think that's great because I have come upon some creative caches sometimes, and I don't feel great in the area I'm at.
Exactly.
I don't like that. And I'll move on past one sometimes, especially if my wife or daughter's there and they're just feeling uncomfortable there, we're going to move on. Right.
Yep.
A lot of times, just me, I don't care. I'll stay there, and I don't care who comes up and asks me. They hit it; they should have permission. So, but I am 100% on board with you so far. You got a good location. Now you're thinking a creative container of some type.
Yep. Yep.
Would you attach the birdhouse to a tree? Is there a tree nearby where you have a wall that's blocking you, or what would you do?
Yeah, it's on the fence.
Okay, so there's a fence there. You can do a burn. That's perfect because it would make sense there. It fit in.
Yeah,
and the next question though is thought process on, and I know we can get off topic really quick on this one. You're doing this one from scratch. This is not the one that you already have.
Right.
Size. Do you do any research when it comes to size? Like most of the ones in here are micro. We already saturated this area for larges. Medium would be good. What size? Do you look at what size I've hidden and what size the area needs when you're trying to determine size, or you just what do you do for that process?
Yeah, I do for sure. I'm thinking about a couple locations that I've done. I try my best to hide the largest container I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I have done my area for whatever reason. If somebody if a muggle finds something, they'll do one of 2 things to it. They will either take it or they'll destroy it to bits. I don't understand the process in person's brain, but I've talked to the parks department in my town, and they allow me to place caches in all the parks.
Yeah.
Here's what I do. I will take a spot, and I'll try to put as large as I can in that location. Now, in the past, or what'll occur is if it comes up missing and I replace it and it comes up missing again, then I've got one or two things. Then I either have to,
Go ahead. I just want to pull it
Crackle.
up. It's a good one.
Go ahead.
So along with what you're saying, she said she put out 4 painted ammo cans based on original book covers, mainly ammo cans because my town has mostly micros. I think about what Ken would like. So she's doing it based on the area and what she wants to see because what her kids would want to see, right? So, and I like that she brought up ammo cans because I joke about ammo cans a lot. Like, you know, I don't need the fat crayons. I can actually handle this stuff. I joke about that. Like, I don't need it. You don't need to make it easier for me. But in a situation where you're trying to put out a large, an ammo can is actually a great one. I don't mean the full. 30, you have to get the full ones to do it, but it provides that protection like you're talking about. I've had ones totally destroyed. So when I'm trying to put out one area like that, I've got some of those big ammo cans before that can kind of fit. You can buy them with all kinds of types, right? The big tubes and everything. And then you can really bolt those things down to whatever that, if you have permission, they can't be taken away and you can't destroy those things. And I just put a lock on the outside and you can put anything you want inside those things and they're going to be safe. But it's a lot more effort to do that. And it's kind of hard. It's hard to hide that as well. So,
So just to finish my thought was that what I've ended up doing is I will, unfortunately, I'll change the size of my hide.
Oh gosh, I can't. Either
I know I do. I will change it.
You change it on the cache page?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll change it.
Oh my gosh. You're the kind of cacher I hate. You're the reason. So I signed a challenge years ago in Hawaii about finding 100 large caches. You're the exact reason why I can never make that challenge work.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't change
people's stats. You're evil.
Yeah. I wouldn't change it if it was a large. But I'm only changing if it's micros and things like that. So those are all dime a dozen. They are micros and smalls. Those are all dimes a dozen. So
I know
it's like saying that you can't change. Now I don't change DT ratings, but
people do it all the time.
I know people do it all the time. But again, if it was large, I wouldn't change it, or regular. Those I would never change. I would just have to find a new location. It's either that or archive it. So there's only a couple choices.
Archive it and put a brand new one.
Well, archive it maybe and put a brand new one. I've done that before.
Yeah.
But if it's generic, then I see what you're saying though, is I wouldn't change, like if somebody changes a 1.5 to a 2 1.5, okay, it's not, what's that going to kill? It's not going to kill anybody, but I can understand changing a 4.5 1 or a 5 1 or a 5 3 or some of the DTs that are a little more tricky. I don't see changing those because you're going to mess somebody up.
Yeah, and I don't think anything should be changed. You know, if it's that substantial of a change, I think you go and
redo it,
archive your cache, right?
Yeah.
But there are some exceptions. I understand that, and
I haven't done it very often
yet. We're going to get into that next, but
I haven't done it very often. I've only done it a couple times because, like you said, I almost just, if it gets destroyed more than once, I usually give up on that spot and I'll move on.
So in general, you think about the biggest container you can put in the location.
I try.
However, you balance that with, is this going to draw attention of muggles?
Yeah. And here's the funny thing is that, and I know everybody does it differently. All my caches are premium.
That brings up a good point too. So I want to hit a couple of these.
Go ahead.
These, comments while we have.
Go for it.
That one was a perfect segue into it. It says, "Remember that newbies who are not paid membership yet are pretty restricted in what they can find."
That's true.
That is true. If they're not premium, you know, they're not going to be able to see a lot of things. So you had to put that out that's a good consideration for when you're putting a cache out. Who do you want to find it?
Yep.
Yours, you make all premium. That's only going to be premium people. Brand new people may not even be able to see what they've got, like we talked about with Nick recently. Depending on which app you're using and everything else, you may even not even know the cache is there. So who do you want to have access to that cache? And I think that's a good point. If you're putting a lot of effort into it, you may or may not want people that are brand new to the game to find it. That's a personal choice. You may think, I want everybody to find it because you're going to bring somebody else into the game, or you may think, I don't want them to find it because they don't know what to do with it and they're going to tear it up. But that brings up a good point. So you do all of yours premium.
Yeah, I may have I might have a couple really old caches out there that I've never changed to premium. So there might be a couple, but whenever I do a brand new cache, I think they're all premium. I'll have to go look. It's a good question.
I'm going to double check on mine, but I think I know that at least 99.9% of mine are not premium. I think I made one premium this year recently. And, I don't even know how to check that.
If you just pull up a cache, it'll tell you.
Yeah, where does it say premium? Because I've never done it before, so.
Yeah, if you pull up a cache, down below the DT, it'll say this is a premium only cache. I'm checking all my caches, and all my caches say this is a premium only cache. Let me try my old. I know. Let me try my really
old.
Oh
yeah, okay. Here's the one that I made premium. That was that virtual difficulty terrain challenge I was telling you about.
All right,
I made that one premium. It's the first one I ever made premium.
Right.
But I did it because you're not going to have a brand new player coming close to being qualified for that one. And
yeah,
I think on some of I've thought about making all the challenges premium.
I've got
because I believe new players are not going to be able to see those anyway, right?
Yeah, I think I've got only one. Let me look. No, I've got a couple. I have a multi-cache that's not premium, but I bet you after that, all of them are. I'm gonna stop looking. Oh, I got more than that. I've got 3. Not too bad, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I just never, and I know we've talked about it many times. I've never. So that's your other. I guess that's the next step. Is deciding
that's my. Yeah, and that's my attempt to protect them. Because local cachers have said that they felt like that that we had people who would download the app and then go try to destroy everything in this that they could find for fun.
Well, people that download the app, they don't even get to see until they're premium. They don't even get to see other cache types anyway, right? They can only see traditionals that are under a 2.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've been a non-premium member.
Yeah, we're going to go back through all those and check that again because it's changed over time.
I do know that I know they can't see premium, so therefore I hide all those. Yeah. So if they want to go destroy, all these other caches, and I know that Chronically Tired Mom mentioned she hides all hers. She does premium. And I have found personally that the caches that I hide that are premium, they do tend to not get destroyed as often.
Yeah.
So, which is sad to say, but
yeah, that's always one of those personal decisions. But that would be one of the decisions you'd have to make when you're hiding caches, premium or not.
Oh, Ryan says anything under 2.2. There you go.
So they can't see anything. Well, then they don't see most of mine anyway. So. All right.
Yeah, you're in a whole different.
Yeah. All right. So also, Miss Long Trail, the premium gets found about 1/3 of the time.
Which is interesting. Eric Bross brings this up because that's a good point. Is that slowing down my find rate? Which it probably is.
Yeah, but also could be protecting against being muggled, right?
Yeah, and so my thought though is that we talked about before, and I know we got other things to talk about, but the creative cache that I have out at the Cotton Museum here in Greenville, when it was in a certain location within that, within the I have a couple caches on the museum grounds that they allow me to put out. One of them, though, is around the corner of around the corner of the museum, and that thing was just it was getting manhandled left and right, and so I archived it, like you said. It was just needed to, and I replaced it with a larger cache, actually, but I put it in the front. I asked him, I said, can I put this on this particular pole?
Yeah.
It's like a birdhouse, and I put it on that pole because it is right in the front. And so it looks like that it more than likely would get hit by a camera of some kind, because it's literally not far from the front door.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem with muggles since then. Well, I've had a problem with cachers who will take a screwdriver to it, but that's for another show.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway.
All right. So a few more questions, because before we run out of time.
Yeah.
Well, let's just continue on with this cache that we're theoretically placing now. So you've got a great location picked out. It's a letterbox. You're going to have it larger, whatever large creative container you can put at the site.
As large, usually
the largest you can put, whether it's large or medium
small,
or whatever, at that site, right?
Well, small is about the largest I can put out around here, but okay. Yeah.
Okay. And you're going to secure it to a pole, so it's not going to walk off and leave.
Yeah, I will. Okay. I will tend to chain it to a tree.
So
if possible.
The next thing, and this we could do a whole show on it, but we're just going to hit on it for a second.
Yeah.
The next step, I would think, may be determining difficulty and terrain.
True.
So for terrain, and people think, well, that's easy. Well, it is, but there's a lot of room for error in terrain too, right? Especially when we've done shows on this already, especially when you're talking about one terrain. Don't just put one terrain because it's easy. Look into the rules, know what you're actually doing.
Exactly.
That's one of the most important terrains out there. All the other ones can be wrong by one or two. That one needs to be right every single time. So I'm assuming is off-road a little bit. It's up on a post. Yours may not fall into that one category based on the terrain. It sounds like it's at the back of the area, so it sounds like it might be hard to get to. What would you expect your terrain on this one to be?
I would say more than likely it's 1.5. I might venture into a 2 with a lot of my hides. I don't do tree hides.
Yeah.
I don't do. I have a few caches that are. For the one I talked about, the one park that is huge. I have other parks in town. Not many, but I have other parks in town that I put caches at that are not as large. But we have one giant park, and part of it is wooded, and so I'll put caches in those woods, because Parks Department lets me.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll get too far up on the level. I don't think I'll get.
Well, that's based on what you have in the area. That's okay. But you do take some time to consider terrain. I know you do because we've talked about it a bunch. But
yeah, no, I do.
But that's usually not the hard part.
No, difficulty.
The hard part is difficulty.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
So it's going to be hard for us to really pin this one down now. But how do you go? Let's say that you've got a creative cache and you've got maybe some kind of puzzle to get into it or whatever else. How do you go about, you personally, how do you go about trying to decide what difficulty it is? Because you already know the answer, so it's always hard to,
Sure.
Yourself.
One thing I do, and I'm wondering if you tell me what your thoughts on this are, but one thing that I'll do is I try to think about it from a perspective of comparables. So the caches that I found, I try to think about the difficulty of it, and I try to figure out, okay, the difficulty of my new cache is similar to the cache that I found a few months
Okay.
ago.
That makes
And I'll
sense.
go, yeah. So I'll go back and I'll look at that because I have it memorized. I'll go back and I go, you know what? This field puzzle or this letterbox has a little bit of a, especially, well, depends on the hide. But like you said, let's say it's a letterbox that we're doing the theoretical on, and I'm able to kind of sort of wedge this container in a little bit of a spot that's a little hard to it takes a little tricky. It takes a little bit to find. It's not as obvious. I will try to determine from it. I'll go and go back and go, what other caches have I found that sort of have the same type of camouflage or same type of difficulty in my mind of, okay, this particular hide that I'm doing right now feels a lot like the difficulty of the cache that I found a few months ago. And I'll go back and I'll look at that cache and I'll go, that one was a 2.5. Well, that seems about right. I do also use the online DT guide. Have you ever used that?
Yeah. I do that as well, but there's really three things that I do that are a little different than what you do. I will do that. I will think comparable.
Right.
And I do mine a little bit in a different order than what you do. So one of the things I've always tried to do is, if it fits generally, I try to add a cache to the area that we may not have. So like in your scenario, you have a letterbox. I would then look at the terrain's already set because you already got your location. But I would then look at difficulty and see what are we missing in this area. So let's say yours is a terrain 2, and I look it up, and then within 50 miles, there's no 3 difficulty terrains. I mean, 3 difficulty 3 terrain 2s in the area, right?
Right.
There's none. There's none here. Well, then I would reverse engineer mine that way. The opposite of what you're doing. I would go backwards. So now I want it to be a 3. What do I need to do to make it a 3?
Okay.
I make it hard enough to fit that category. And then to check, because if there's no 3 2s and somebody's working on a fizzy of this or needs to get that, I like to have everything of all types and areas. So I try to add that based on what's missing. Now I'm not going to fudge it. I don't think that's helping anybody, and I hate when I come upon those when they're just fudging it for no reason.
Right.
But I don't hate it so bad I'm not going to find it. But I mean, I do hate it. So then my next 2 steps generally, and this will launch us into something else that I wanted to get to before we get done. But one, I use a resource that we have, and I call Tom and Charles, and I'll send them my puzzle and go, how hard is this? What is the rating on it? Because they've found like 80 billion puzzles, and
exactly.
People that outside of the network, just friends that I know that are geocachers, and I'll send them the puzzle and I'll say, what does this look like to you?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm thinking this is the hardest puzzle ever, and they're like, oh, that's a this and this.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. I'm like, oh, darn, because I'm not a puzzle master, so I don't know.
Sure.
But so I use access of people that are really big into puzzles. And then, which beta testing is what I was going to lead it to. I try to beta test every single one of my caches if possible. Now, I don't know as many people here, so sometimes now it's a virtual beta test for mine. But when I get to know more and more people in my area, I'll generally, especially if it's not like a 1-1, if it's something that's tricky, I'll email somebody long before I ever put that cache out, and I'll say, will you please come check this? And here's what I'm looking for. Difficulty, terrain, did you find it? Coordinates correct or whatever. But I think that beta test, which a lot of people don't do because they get so excited about getting their cache out immediately, I think that beta test is huge, especially when it comes to difficulty. Yes, coordinates, yes, all that stuff. You want to double check all those things. But I think when it comes to difficulty of something like a puzzle or something creative, there's nothing better than having at least another set of eyes on that thing.
Yeah.
And that you have a beta tester for your caches?
I don't. Now I kind of do what you do too. If it's a puzzle, I'll run it by Charles or Tom. I do that, but no, not really. I mean, I have some folks in the area that I could probably get, and I probably need to do that more often. Is I will put out But of late, I put out some easy puzzles lately. I put out some hard ones too, but I don't. I know they're hard, and I just let it roll because I know they're hard.
Yeah.
But
I
did
really
want
like having, and before I moved, I haven't put out that many caches that are more than just baby caches here, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing difficult or anything since I've been here. I need to get more cachers here that I know that I can call for beta testing.
Yeah.
Before I moved, I had somebody, and I had different people for different types of caches too.
Sure.
And I'd call them up and be like, "Hey, will you beta test this?" Yeah, absolutely. The general thing was just don't claim it as first to find. Wait until somebody else claims it. That's the only thing I'm asking for.
Yeah.
So you can't get an FTF hound to do it because it'll drive them crazy. But I don't think you can overvalue beta testing your cache when you put it out.
Yeah, I like what Kristen. I'm glad to see Kristen along tonight. Hey, Kristen, we miss seeing you once in a while. Don't be a stranger. She says for a few good years, for a good few years. That's Canadian, I think. I don't know. I'm kidding. I only having request caches. So specific DT, specific radius from their home, specific words and names. That's a cool idea too.
That's fun. Yeah, let's get involved with other people in the area. I love that.
That is great, Kristen. I didn't think about the fact that people might need a Z for their in the alphabet for cache type or whatever.
So
and then the difficulty of the puzzle. And the difficulty of a puzzle is fairly accurate. That's good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know we won't get into everything tonight. So the other things I think are important to consider, swag and the whole theme of the cache. Like
right.
This, because we said, many times, location, cache page, and container. Those things are very important.
Sure.
Well, don't neglect the cache page. You've done all this work. You found a great thing. You thought through all this. I think the cache page is pretty important. We don't have time to get into that tonight, but do you start building that at the very end? When do you build your cache page? And, because I know on mine, I try to do the HTML out the pictures. I do everything I can to make it a nice cache page as I can.
Yeah.
But sometimes that idea comes to me before the other stuff, but I try, you're still going to be doing that at the very end. Where does that come into your process?
I think it is sort of toward the end for me, in the fact that I don't think of theme until probably toward the end. Now, if I can, I will try. Is retro video game? Well, that's because that's who you are, retro gaming.
That's her thing. I love that. That's great.
He's got to. I mean, that's part of her. That's part of her charm. There is the retro video games.
What level of swag at this point in your career? What level of swag do you put in caches?
I try to theme it. I do try to theme it. So I'll go purchase items that fit. The name of the cache will always seem to fit the theme.
Yeah.
The swag doesn't always fit. I will always try to put some variations of swag if possible.
Maybe we should talk about that another one. Like, what could you see the cache with? What's good swag?
I know.
That's more time than we have tonight. But I think those things. But I think if you just, because we're keeping it short or whatever, but hour flies by so fast when we're talking about these things. We could talk about this for 7 years.
Exactly.
But I think just the things we touched on tonight. If you actually sit and consider each one of those, and don't just go to your go-to unless you have a particular theme. Like Retro Gaming Gal. If you have a particular thing, what you're doing, and that's your thing, stick to that, obviously. Because that's part of, your persona. But if you're just going to find a cache, don't just go pill bottle traditional. Take some time and go, let me walk through those steps and see what's the best thing I can do with what I've got here. If you're starting at a location, right? That's where the theory for tonight.
Right. Let me ask you one thing before we wrap up tonight.
Okay.
What your thoughts are on this?
Uh-oh.
There is a location. There's a couple locations in my area that are along the side of the highway, but they're really cool spots. So I went ahead and put, I know it's boring, but I put a bison tube. It's traditional. It's a bison tube. It's simple. There's place to park. I'm kind of big on not putting somebody in harm's way.
We didn't even get to talk about that tonight, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's more about finding your location.
There's a pullout in this particular location. It's historical, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for now, I've put a traditional boring bison tube there.
You did a placeholder. You did.
It's kind of like, and now I am not adverse to going back later, archiving it, and putting something else there because it's a cool spot. And I've done that before in other locations.
And it's another find for somebody. Even if they found it, it's another find.
It is another find. Based on my area, we don't have a lot of cachers, and I like to try to refresh the game board as much as I can in this particular location. I have a couple caches that are 2006 that I don't know. I really don't want to give up their 06. I mean, that's not that crazy, but every year that goes by,
it does get older. Yeah, for sure.
2006 feels a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's getting kind of old at that point. I might hold on to them a little bit.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to find them. Archive them, jokers, put something new out there.
Yeah, that's for another show because I really struggle with a couple of these things. They just don't get found. I mean, they're just dinosaurs, but I don't want to kill the dinosaur.
I mean, you're not going to replace it if you don't need the area. Well, you're right. That's another show. We'll talk about that.
It's not a year 2000 or 01. Well, how
it's not even 05, right? I mean, it's not the first 5 years, so.
Yeah, it's not the first 5 years. So maybe 06 is not that big. To me, it's not that big of a deal, so I could probably let it go.
Actually, well, I don't know. Okay, well, we got to stop. But
I know.
What is the year? Maybe it's 2010. You know, maybe it's not.
01 would be important. I wouldn't archive an 01.
A 2000.
2001. I think I'd leave those.
No, heck no. No, I'm saying 2010. I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no.
Anything 10 and earlier, you may want to hold on to. 10 and later, whatever. But it also, what if it's the oldest in your area?
Yeah,
that's the thing too, right?
The irony is, I looked at for my county, and it's like the second oldest. there's one at the park, the state park, that's older, and I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, you know, you might want to keep that. That one of the state park ever goes gone, you got the oldest in the county.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. What are you gonna finish with?
No, I think we've talked a couple of things that we could talk about for another hour, but sum it up, and then we need to give away we have a giveaway, right?
Yeah. Yep, we do.
For me, why we kind of even brought this up is, let's say you have a good location. Don't just get excited and do nothing with it. Do the best you can out of each hide you do, right? Now, I know you did a placeholder cache, which I have no problem with. Leave it out there for 3 to 6 months or 3 months as you're planning your cache, and you can and take as long as you want to plan your cache, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a current time. It was 12 months for a while, permanently for a while, 6 months for a while, 3 months for a while. I don't know what the current time is. They say you should expect to leave it out there for. But you put a placeholder that's there for an easy find for somebody, and then you take your time building the best cache you can. I don't see any problem with that.
Interesting. Jim mentions there are many. We got to wrap up, but there are many 5 oldest in the county challenges. Yeah. I didn't realize that was a thing. So maybe
there you go.
Maybe in a sense, one of mine would fit a challenge, but
yeah, maybe the oldest 5 in the historic caches of this county. Yours would be one of them, maybe number 2.
It would be number, it would be in the list. But can you do that? Is that post-moratorium? Can you do a challenge like that?
Let's see. That's not a changing. It's a list. It's a specified list. You might have to say get 5 of the 10 oldest, but I think they'd let you do it.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thought.
We should ask those challenge talk folks.
That's really that's for another show, but I really need to think about challenges more.
Yeah, that's right. We need to talk about that. See, this could be a challenge cache. Easy.
Nobody in my area would do a challenge. There's not,
make it an easy challenge.
A couple of them would not Well, we'll get into it another time, but you're like,
Yeah.
you got people in your area that are like, Jesse,
Yeah,
nobody's doing this cache.
Yeah. And that
Nobody's
really
doing
fits
this.
into like challenge talk. So maybe Emily and them finding the appropriate challenge criteria for your area is
For
important.
your area. Yeah.
But we'll pass it off to them. That's their area of expertise. But all right. So what do you think? You have this theoretical cache now. You've figured out a bunch of things about it. Do you think you're gonna have a successful cache if you do all those things?
I really do. I think that I think that for me personally, I have been more aware of what I'm hiding in the fact that I want to be found. I want to be fun. I want to be something that's good. I want it sometimes to be challenging, and I don't want it to always be a traditional.
Yeah.
And you might be right. If you build it, they will come. Although in some cases they don't come.
Well, and that's true. And so the only caches I've hidden down here recently, since I moved down here, I've hidden 4 or 5 caches down here. But I really just threw it out as like bait. I just wanted to see what people would bite on around here. I did a Where I Go letterbox multi challenge, all in one little area. I just wanted to see the activity level and what's appropriate for the area, what people go for. I haven't hit anything that did that. So basically, those are kind of like, they're elaborate, but they're kind of like placeholders, right?
Yeah.
I put them out there and I just put them all in one little area. Let's see what people go for, and then I'm going to do my big elaborate caches and that type.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah, I want to. Before we close out, I want to make sure, and we got to give a thing, but it says don't forget, in order to qualify for our virtual reward 2024, you need to publish cache in 2023 and get at least 4 favorite points on it. So that's huge. That fits perfectly into the show. I would love to see every Geocache Talk Network family person that hears this get a virtual, and we get to do all the virtuals next year, and we get to do shows upon shows about awesome virtual placements.
All the virtuals,
all the virtuals. We talked about that before. Spread the word. Do not ever not hide your virtual. There's tons of people that don't get them that have tons of ideas, as we do. We have tons of ideas for those too. So we'll get into that in another show as well. But yes, hide your caches, make them good. Think of all these questions. You'll probably get at least 4 favorite points if it's a decent cache.
Yep.
And then you'll be eligible. So.
Yep, I've got one recently that is we talked about earlier. I just put it out a few weeks ago. It's got 5 finds and 3 favorites, so it's on its way.
There you go.
So, look who showed up tonight.
He knows something about favorited caches.
Somebody, that guy, he puts out favorite points like water. That dude is just. He's the candy man.
Hey, I've been trying to do that lately too. I've been trying to put out appropriate
I actually ran
points.
What's funny, I thought about Josh the other day in that I ran out the other day. We were up in Oklahoma City and I had found so many cool caches, and I actually went to favorite point. It goes, and it comes up and says, "You do not have any favorite points." I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I ran out of favorite points. I've never run out of favorite points. I have not run
out of favorite points. I've still got 400 something left to give, but
I ran out completely.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, dang, now I know what it feels like. I was like the shoes on the other foot. I mean,
in fact, you'll be proud of me for this one.
How many do you have?
Today, I went on Project GC.
Yep.
And went to my forgotten favorites tab.
Oh,
and I went through and checked ones that I did. They have that feature where, ones that you did that most people favorited.
You went and stole them.
Several favorite points.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. You stole favorite points from somebody else?
No. I added favorite points to caches that I forgot.
I know, I'm kidding. Oh, that you okay, cool. Good for you.
I don't, I forget a lot of times, but I went back and I was like, oh, I thought I favorited this one. I didn't. So now I still have 400 something left, but
oh my God,
I gave out a bunch. So I did, we talked about it and I tried to do good with it.
Yeah, I'm still sitting at 0, so I may go steal some from archived caches. Just saying
Or
that
find more caches.
I know to find more. Yeah,
All you
which
gotta find
I
is 10 to
will.
get to the point.
We're about to find some. We're about to go to Memphis, so
There you go. You'll find tons there.
I'll find some on the way. So
Okay. We need to do our
All right,
giveaway
cool.
before we forget, though.
all right, here's the giveaway. I'm bringing it up now, and let's roll the dice. We have 34 entries, so let's get this thing
There you go.
rolling. Here we go. Oh, there they go. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows but StreamYard. And the winner is he can't win. Sorry.
Pizza Ninja.
He is not eligible. Drawing again. And here we go. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows who's the winner tonight. Oh, Judy.
On. There we
Judy
go.
Vaughn.
I was going to be saying something's rigged.
Dang, I could almost.
Joshua's name was like the third one from the winner. If he shows up and 5 minutes later wins, that's rigged.
Wins, yeah. People,
he has that kind of luck though. He would show up and win in 5 minutes.
He would. So Judy,
but anyway, he didn't. Judy won. So
Judy won. Send us an email if you would, please. I could probably even bring it to you at CacheFest, but I'll mail it to you. So send an email, geocachetalk@gmail.com. And I think this was a good discussion. I think I appreciate.
It fits right into what we're doing right now with people trying to get favorite points for to get the 2024 virtual rewards.
Yeah,
this is your chance. If you go through these things, you'll probably have a highly favorited, based on your area, but you'll have some favorite points.
Yep. And I like that. I want, hopefully from tonight, people will take the time to consider and not just put out the normal, the whatever your normal is, not you, but I'm saying people out there in Radio Land, if they will think about, maybe I should do a puzzle. Maybe I've never done a puzzle. Do a puzzle. Maybe you haven't done a puzzle in a while. Maybe the good old Where I Go. We can always help with that. We've got an example of a Where I Go on the Geocache Talk website. Go check that out. Maybe do a Where I Go. People might see that and go, "Oh, wow! There's now a Where I Go in this county." You might be the only Where I Go in your county. Who knows?
You may be the first Where I Go and the only Where I Go in your county.
Yeah, who knows? So, maybe we'll do a show someday on. Nah, forget that. All right, let's wrap up. Just busting you. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Say good night, Jesse.
Yep. Hide a good cache.
Hide a good cache. Good night, Jesse. See you. Bye, everybody.